Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ash Savage, and I identify as bisexual and transgender. And I'm just going to share my experience coming out, how it went, how people found out, and how they reacted. So the first time I came out as bisexual, and I don't really know if I can say that I technically came out to anybody, because when me and my first girlfriend got together, when I was still presenting as female and stuff, I was basically just like, hey, I like you. And she replied back with, I like you too, and we started dating. I never really, I don't think, told her my sexuality. When the next person I came out to was my older sister, and it was really like, hey, I searched through your messages and I know you're not straight, so are you bi or are you a lesbian? And I was just like, I'm bi, I like guys too. And her and her boyfriend were there at that time. She ran and told my mom right after saying she wasn't going to tell anybody. And so that's how my mother found out. My grandma is very homophobic, very close-minded, and she discovered, because I guess she has family, she's blind, and so she doesn't get out of the house a whole lot. She didn't see the way I was presenting. There were times my girlfriend was over at her house before she knew, and I guess she just kind of suspected it, and she had family that told her, but me and her, she kept fighting with me and calling me a word that I don't like to repeat. I'll just say it's the homophobic F word. And so one time I'm like, I'm not gay, I'm bisexual, get it right. Or I've been with girls and guys. And I mean, I don't remember much about that time, because when I get super mad, I black out almost. I just block out all memory of that moment. But that's how she found out. I haven't really told anybody else. That's just how my workplace found out whenever my girlfriend came into my workplace. And again, all of this was prior to me coming out the second time around. And so they're like, oh, well, you do you. We really don't care, but awesome. And so I feel awkward. Instantly, my first thought when seeing myself, recording videos and stuff, I noticed this and I want to just cover it. Anytime I see myself in any reflection or anything, especially when I'm not binding, which it's my break time, so I get awkward and want to cover up my chest, or just simply do that, but then it almost looks worse. The second time around coming out, I will say it was basically all completely through social media, through Facebook and TikTok. That's how that happened. And Instagram, I believe so. Yeah, so I made a post on Instagram. I guess you could say it all came out in the same exact line. The people I came out to as bisexual and transgender, basically in the same order. Girlfriend first, I made a post on Instagram and she was like, what is this? What? Then I explained it more to her, but she suspected it and kind of was like, is this how you are? Because of a post I made on Instagram. My sister, I had a whole other TikTok account I created and was making TikToks on it. And she was like, hey, what's your new TikTok so I can see the video you recorded with my child in it? And I'm like, okay. So I told her the name of it. She was like, oh, okay. Well, at first I'm like, I don't want to tell you. She's like, why? And I'm like, okay, fine, here it is. I mean, that was I guess a year ago. And it wasn't until this year that she started calling me the proper name, pronouns, da-da-da. Not even still calling me the proper pronouns. But the name, I mean, she calls me Ash now. That's just who I am. It's weird to hear anybody say my dead name or dead nickname. Most places. At my grandma's house, it's still all female pronouns, female dead name, all of that stuff. The next person, I mean, I told my niece just because she's young, she can't tell anybody, and she can't really comprehend what it is, what it means yet. And I was at a very low point in my life, and I needed somebody to talk to, even if they can't listen, they can't answer back. Just I needed to talk and express it. I'm very vocal with my hands, and you can't even see half of what I'm doing. I guess I can say it's a TikTok Musical.ly thing. The next person I came out to was, let's see, my mom. Her boyfriend at the time found my Facebook profile, which was under Ash, and they're like, wait, this person has insurance? And I wasn't even with her when this happened, but it did. And she messaged me and was like, what? Sorry, I keep looking off because there's a lot going on around me. And I sent her a long paragraph, said, don't talk to me for 2 days, and then we'll talk about it. Or don't mention anything. I don't know why I did that. That was stupid. Work comes next. Work. This kind of has a little bit behind it that I'll have to describe a little bit. At work, we get this exact water. And since, like, everybody drinks it, we usually write something on the top of it to know it's ours. I'd say, like, 3-4 months prior to all of this. It started 2 or 3 months before I actually came out. And it started with, I would write an A on my lid, the cap, up on the top of it right here. And nobody really said anything. Then one day, one of my coworkers, she works in the household room, was like, why do you do this? I said, we have another coworker that had a T name. And I was like, and this isn't her real name. Trish writes a T on her water, so I started writing an A so I could tell mine apart from hers. Nothing more said about that part of it. And then my other coworker, what's the A for? And something happened. I never told her any excuse. And then, sorry, I'm getting so distracted. I later made a Facebook post a few months later. It was like, I'll try and find it just so you guys can see what it actually said. Me saying he writes an A on his lid, A is Ash or something. It was a lot more scripted, but I made that. And then the next work day, my boss had told the coworker that asked me last, her name, I'll just say her name was Kelly, and she messaged me and was like, hey, Nikki wants to know if you want to go by Ash and he and pronouns. And like, I didn't respond for like a half an hour to an hour because I'm like, I don't know, should I do this? But I did. And like a week later, the following Monday, I was there at work, and she called me into her office and was like, hey, we gotta do this like legitimate, make it to where people do this and it's not really a choice, which she was like, do you really want to do this? And I'm like, yes. She said, okay, I'm gonna write up a paper and pass it out. And then that following Wednesday, she gave me a copy of the paper to read, and one of my coworkers, the first one to ask, her name was Sophie. That's her nickname, not her full name. And I had this paper that I was trying to read, you know, just to make sure. And she's like, what's that? What's that paper? And I wouldn't tell her. I think mostly because I was nervous about telling her. And so she's like, she was almost like pouty about it because we all get along like friends and everything. And I was like, no, you can't see this paper. And she's like, well, I want to see it. And she kept trying to get it from me. But I was all excited with this paper, and the next day she found out. Everybody got it when my boss handed out our checks because we're old-fashioned and still do paper checks. So everybody at work found out through technically a letter because I made a post on Facebook. Is that all the people I came out to? My grandma don't know yet. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, that's that. Thank you for watching this video if you watch it all the way through. Sorry I'm talking so quietly. I will thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where I'm hopefully not as quiet and shy.